Can you start by telling us just who you are?
Just like you said, Jerome Jackson. I'm born here in Dothan, worked here most of my life, and in radio for the most part.
And how did you get into radio? Because I know you've been a big name here in the Wiregrass.
Well, I guess so. But I started out after I graduated high school, got my first job at one of our sister stations now, here at Digio Strategies, WKMX. It's my first job out of high school. I got that by, I guess, pestering the program director enough, who was at the time, Connor Vernon, did the morning show. And he called me up one day out of the blue while I was working at a Zippy Mart in a convenience store that was popular in this area back in that time, and just asked me if I was interested in working in radio. And I said, heck yeah. And he had a midnight to 6 shift opening. And so he wanted me to come sit in with the guy that was leaving so he could show me the ropes, stuff he did, certain portions of the early morning hours. He had to run a couple of programs. And got the swing of it. Actually, I was supposed to work with him 3 days, 3 nights. On the second night, he left me by myself after about an hour.
Hey, he was confident.
He said, "Hey, you got this. I'm out of here." It's like,
he didn't want to work that 12 to 6 shift anymore.
No, he was ready to go. And his name was Ken Groom, and he went by Ken Groom in the Room, and was his on-air moniker, I guess you say, but never knew what happened to him after that. So, but that's how I got started, and worked at several other stations in the area, including one in Troy. I worked in Elba, was the program director over there at a little country station.
Yeah, what was the station in Elba?
It was WZTZ, which later became the Weevil when they moved the studios from Elba to Enterprise in the old KMX building. It was there for a little while, until they moved it out, and so yeah, it was a low power, about a 3,000 watt station. But then I wound up a friend of mine that was in sales, that was actually in sales at WZTZ, got a job at TVY, and he became one of their sales reps. Later on, he called me and said, "Hey, they've got an opening here, and would you like to?" I want to get you over here. This is a 100,000 watt station. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And I said, I got the job in the interview and started working at TVY. And then from there on, I was there for a while, and then I was gone. Now I'm back again. So
hey, you just can't get out of it. You talked about how you got into radio. Were you always interested in radio?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that was one of two things I wanted to do. I either wanted to be a singer or get into radio. I listened to radio a lot when I was in high school, in my teens, and I used to, when I'd get home, I'd go to my room. I had a record player, had a few 45s, and I was able to, I'd go in and actually pretend to be a DJ. I'd do little things in the room.
Do you have one of the mixing pads or all that?
No, I didn't. I just had a record player, and I just...
A mixing pad with a record player. I just completely slipped my mind.
Yes. This is back in the archaic days of radio. Just everything was records back then, turntables, tape, and that was it. So I did that, and then I figured out we had this big console TV. Had the TV with the stereo built in with a turntable. Nice. It was a Curtis Mathis. I remember that. And I figured out how to wire my record player into the system so I'd have 2 record players. So I can have one playing and get one ready. And just pretend, And I never really seen the inside of a radio station yet, and kind of just figured that's how it was done. And so, yeah, I always wanted to get into radio, so it kind of, I guess I drew it towards me, It
you just manifested it.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
We go.
There you go. That's the word. So, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. And then singing was another thing. I actually tried to make it in Nashville a couple of times.
What happened?
I don't know. Just the first time we got ripped off.
What happened? You got to go into a little more detail.
Fortunately, I didn't have any of my personal money. I was like 21 at the time. We had a guy that was a promoter that came up, that approached us, that I had worked with briefly before, and he said, "I've got some connections in Nashville. Let's do this." I said, "Hey, yeah, let's do it." So we did set up a recording session just north of Nashville, a town called Hendersonville. There was a guy up there that was a producer. He was actually from Ozark. He went to school in Ozark for a time. We set it up to have a recording session. So I went up there and professionally recorded 8 songs. They were going to take 2 of them and mix them down. And I remember the 2 that they got, they brought in some backup singers for it. They did some other instrumentation, strings and things of that nature.
That's a whole production.
Oh, it was for the 2 songs they were promoting. They were going to push those to the label and see if they could get a bite. And apparently it was about the same time that we found out that the guy that was working with us had ripped us off, and the investor who was behind us for several $1,000s. So we had to get rid of him. We didn't know what to do after that, and it kind of just fell apart. And then later on, I met David Frizzell, who was doing a show in Dothan. He's part of the Frizzell family. Mm-hmm. Lefty Frizzell was his brother, who had some big hits in the 50s and 60s, early 70s. David, I left him, gave him a tape, and asked him if he ever helped anybody, and he said, yeah, when I can. So about a week later, I get a call, and I've still got on that little micro cassette off of our answering machine. He called, left a message, and, hey, it's David from Nashville, and said, I heard your songs, and I really like you, and da-da-da-da. So we went up there and did some stuff, and he tried to get my foot in the door, and just couldn't make anything happen. I did get a video out of it for one of
a music
songs.
video?
Yeah, I got a music video.
Is it still out?
I've got to. I used to have it on my old YouTube channel. It got deleted accidentally, and I've got to repost it on my other channel. So I'll have that on there soon. So.
I want to see that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
But just because you didn't make it in Nashville, you did. He's the Elvis of the Wiregrass. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, that is, I guess that came in part due to the fact that I couldn't get my foot in the door in Nashville, and I was still doing radio at the same time. And at that last time with David Frizzell, we were putting our own money into it.
Yeah.
Well, we got to the point where he said, well, we need this to do that. I know it's money, and we just couldn't spend anymore. We had maxed out our credit cards and, all the whole 9 yards. So we just decided to, if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. I keep having people, man, you should have made it now. It's like, well,
It's not as easy. Probably a lot easier said than done.
And I get people approach me all the time. It says, hey, how can I get – look, you just got to do it. You probably have to move there, which I didn't. Probably one of I probably should have, but and I tell people you might need to move there. Make sure you at least write songs. That always helps. I barely write songs. It's just not my thing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that kind of led to the Elvis thing. Graceland, Elvis Enterprises started doing the contesting. Elvis, the Ultimate Elvis Tribute Artist Contest. So a friend of mine told me about it. He said, yeah, I've heard about that. And I said, I'm thinking about doing it. So I did a few of them and got to the semifinals in Memphis.
You did?
Yeah, I got to semifinals, the top 30. And I just knew I was going to make it to the 15 and 10 because I've seen the others. And I was very disappointed that I didn't get picked. But
how far did you make it?
30. Well, they pick. They do them around the world, mostly in the United States.
Yeah. And
they pick 30 out of the whole group. Well, that 30 gets to go to the semifinals in Memphis, and then of that 30, you get to do one song. Is all you get.
Oh, like one and done.
Yeah. And so mine wound up being My Way, and so I did My Way, and did fine. And when they had us all come back on stage, they call out the 15 names in no particular order, and I'm standing there. It's like, and so-and-so step forward. So-and-so, okay, I'm counting them. 1, 2, 3, getting close to 10. I'm getting nervous. 14, 15, and it wasn't me. And so I was very disappointed in that. And I watched the rest of them, and I'm thinking, they picked this guy over me. kind of stuff,
It's the worst feeling.
But one of the greatest things of that, I don't know if you're familiar with actor David Keith.
Yes.
He was in Firestarter with Drew Barrymore, Officer and a Gentleman. He's the one that hung himself in Officer and a Gentleman, if you ever saw that movie.
That name sounds familiar. I'm sure if I saw the face.
And he also portrayed Elvis in a movie called Heartbreak Hotel. And so we're coming off the stage, the rest of us who didn't make it, coming down this ramp, and down at the end, there was a guy standing there, had these nice-looking glasses on, and and as we're coming down towards him, we'd make this turn back towards the dressing room, and he was standing there, and we were coming down, and he kept saying, man, that was a great job you did, Wonder, I get down towards him, and he goes, "Man, that was a great job. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do," because he's one of the judges.
Oh.
That's what it was. There was 3 entertainment judges. And I started to make that turn, and he did a double take, and he stopped me. He said, or just started walking with me. He said, "Man," he said, "I just want to tell you, you did absolutely, you were fantastic."
I say, then why am I not on the stage
Yeah,
still?
and it's like, I'm walking with him, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? And why is he telling me all this? He said, you had the voice, you had the what do you call it? The
swagger,
the swagger, the walk, and everything. And I'm, wasn't trying to, do anything special. And he said, "Man, and that's at that point I said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "I don't know what the other 2 judges were thinking, but you, man, you are great. You keep doing what you're doing." I said, "I appreciate it." And about that time, I looked at him again. I thought, and I patted him on the shoulder. I just realized who you are. He said, "You're David Keith." He said, "Yeah."
Yeah, that would be my name.
So that was one of the, that kind of ease the pain of losing or not going further.
But it was at Graceland.
It was in Memphis it was at a venue downtown, but not at Graceland itself. But Graceland was the.
Have you been?
Oh, to Graceland?
Yeah.
Oh, I have been. If I counted the times I've been, I would say it's 25, 30 times maybe.
Really? My dad went with his mom, and I've wanted to go. I love it. I like Elvis a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the movie that came out?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Oh, yeah. There were some inaccuracies in it, but for the most part, it was a good movie. It was one of the better movies, and Austin Butler did a fantastic job in it, I think. And
he still he has the accent.
Oh, I know.
still.
And I always, at all my shows, just about at some point in the show, I'll ask the audience. I usually ask them if they'd ever seen Elvis, and I get a few people that have seen him live.
That'd be cool.
I got to see him live. By the
you
way.
did?
Yes. And the other thing I asked, I said, "Has anybody seen my movie?" When it first came out, I was, "Have y'all seen my movie yet?" And everybody would laugh. It was like, "No, it's not my movie." But yeah, I got to see Elvis 3 times.
Where'd you see him? In his as he was older, or
is 76 in the last tour in June of 77.
so he was big.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a great show. I mean, people think he was. Some people think he was tremendously fat, and he wasn't. He was only like 225, 30 pounds.
But I guess it's just because how he used to look, and he was just
Yeah,
this
yeah,
huge
yeah.
heartthrob.
You got that 73 Aloha from Hawaii, real slim. He was like 170 pounds or something like that. And but he had a lot of, in that last tour, he had a lot of water retention and he had an enlarged colon, which made his stomach protrude out a little further than it should have. That I understand later was he was to have an operation to have that taken care of. But he did have some legitimate health issues. But those shows, I'm telling you, they were. I mean, it was
Where'd you see him?
Saw him in Mobile the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
In August of 76, and then February 16th of 77 in Montgomery at the Garrett Coliseum.
He was all over Alabama.
Oh yeah. He played the Garrett Coliseum back in the 50s also, and there a couple of times prior to that in 74, and then again in Mobile. We saw him at the Municipal Auditorium.
Sagner Theater.
Municipal, where? Mobile? Mm-hmm. Municipal Auditorium. And I think they're fixing to tear that down.
They did
too.
tear it down.
Oh, they've already done it.
Because that's where I went to school. I went to South.
Ah, okay.
And like the year that I left, I think they tore it down, which is...
I had read some articles here recently that they were doing it, and I thought, oh, man. But anyway, that's twice I'd seen him there. Fantastic show. And then... as part of the fan club that I was in, we got tickets. Here's how you did it. There was no ticket master.
Ticket booths?
Nothing like that. You had to send your money to the box office and take a chance, because with an Elvis tour, you never knew ahead of time, because when we somehow got a schedule, like a 2-week in advance schedule, it was hard to find out where he was playing. And by the time you found out, it was sold out. Well, we sent money to the box office of each place. Fortunately, got tickets back. Well, after that last show, we found out his next tour was going to be, like a 15-day tour. It's going to wrap up in Memphis with 3 shows. Well, we sent off for the tickets. We all got our tickets back, and I thought, all right, great. $15 tickets, by the way.
To see one of the biggest
yes,
music
I know,
legends.
but that's what the going rate was back then. And so we got the tickets back in the mail, and the day before he died. I got the ticket in the mail, and so I still have.
I was about to say, do you still have it?
I have all my ticket stuff because they didn't have the perforation on them like they do now on some of them, where they tear it at the perforation, so they would tear it in the middle or off centered or whatever. So I have all the ticket stubs of the 3 that I saw, plus the complete ticket of the one that never happened. So
that's so unfortunate.
Man. Yep, and of course, not only do I do the Elvis tribute shows and impersonations and so forth. I'm a huge fan. I don't do this just because, I can make a little extra money with it.
Talk about, you were in one of the fan clubs in Enterprise.
Yeah. That's how we got the tickets, how I found out. And I was 15 when I saw my first, or 15 when I saw my first show. And it was just amazing. But after the fan club broke up after he died, obviously, and
I was going to say, are you still in it?
Yeah. It just didn't last. There was just no, because we did fundraisers for things and donated money to different local charities, and it was just like, well, he's gone, and what's the point? And it was such a devastating event anyway. When he died, it was like losing a family member, and I collect the vinyl. My uncle gave me some of his vinyl that he collected in the 50s. Lost a lot of that in a hurricane, but I've re-bought just about everything. But I probably have close to 400 and something albums.
Are any of them signed?
No signed ones, no. And I don't even. One of the things I'd love to have is a scarf, a concert scarf. There's a friend of mine in Enterprise. She got one on some kind of site on Facebook that they authenticate items. She got a scarf somehow. She never told me what she paid for it. I know a woman.
It was his scarf?
Yes, yeah. I know a woman that her mother went to an Elvis concert. She lives in Ashford, or she works in Ashford. She came to one of our shows and brought the scarf with her. Big 35 by 35 scarf, the way it was folded when he had it around his neck. It looked like it was just a narrow scarf, but it was a 35 by 35. And she brought it to the show. We got some pictures with it. And then she let me come to her business. I said, can you bring it with you and let me come take more pictures?
Yeah.
So she let me do that. And then she has not agreed to let it go yet. So I have nothing.
So Elvis gave her that? Like she was
on stage. It was her mom that went to an Elvis concert.
Oh,
she got up to the stage and he threw it out.
I don't think she's going to be parting with that.
No, it doesn't look like it. So maybe she'll will it to me. I don't know,
Well, what do you think, before we kind of get into your shows, there's the conspiracy theories about all these, there's I think 2 men that are like, I'm Elvis, Elvis is not dead. Yeah. What do you think?
I think they're crazy.
Because I did see something, though, that one of the guys, I think he is in a mental institution, he was like, take my DNA, check my DNA. It matched perfectly with Elvis and his parents when they looked back. But like I said, I don't.
Well, I'd have to see the story to believe it. Yeah, because you can claim all kinds of stuff. I had an incident with somebody that did that as well. I argued with this woman on Facebook that was friends of mine, and back and forth. I said, no, that's not Elvis. Yes, it is. It's his. No, it was not Elvis, but his son. And there's also a Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. that claims to be his son, and the story just doesn't match up from the interviews that I've seen, of the time frame that his mom met Elvis and when he was born. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
so when you really look into it, and then the other story is his name escapes me now. The pastor Bob Joyce in Arkansas, who is a pastor. He's got gray hair, kind of a thin beard, mustache. People think that he's Elvis, and you have Elvis fans, diehard Elvis fans, going to his church, going out of the way just to travel to go to his church, and he's an Elvis fan himself. His son is an Elvis tribute artist. I met him, but he is definitely not Elvis. I mean, there is no way. They'd say, well, his nose may not look like Elvis's because he's had plastic surgery. I said, no.
Older man is going to get, I don't know.
And he is like 70. When I first started researching it, he was like 68. I found him online, and he's got his birth date and everything. I said, he's only 60-something, and Elvis would have been at that time 86 or – I said, now Elvis, coming up here in just a matter of next Wednesday, the 8th of January, Elvis would have been 90, and this guy is 72. I said, you can't tell me, you look at him, this 72-year-old man is a 90-year-old man. And
that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't matter.
Or there was one that he's still like at Graceland working the ground.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too. I've seen those. Oh no, that's just.
I don't know.
ridiculous.
People do all this with Michael Jackson.
I would love for
too.
him to have been alive. It had lasted longer, but and this woman that I argued with said his son said that Papa, who they refer to as Elvis, Papa is going to make himself known soon. Well, this has been almost 10 years ago now. Papa has watched your videos and he likes you. I said, okay, that's nice. And if he's gonna make himself known soon, he better hurry up.
That's so ominous.
It's
sounds
crazy.
Like something from a horror. Like Papa is going to be here soon.
Yeah,
I don't know. That freaks me out.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So, how are the shows? Do you have any upcoming shows coming up?
I have a February. We call it our Valentine. Legend show, because I do more than just the Elvis in that. I do a little bit of Conway and Loretta with my wife, who does a Loretta Lynn, and Patsy Cline. We do a few duets, and she'll do both of those in the show. Sometimes we have a friend of ours in Columbus, Alonzo Russell, who will come down and do a Motown review, and he is fantastic. And it depends on how we got everything worked out. And that's February 15th, and you can get details on the website at elvisjerome.com.
And you have your YouTube channel where
I have a couple
of
you can just type in Jerome Jackson. You'll get the football player sometimes. There's a football player that has some stuff, and there's other Jerome Jacksons, but I'm the only white Jerome Jackson on there that I've seen. But if one of the funniest videos, and that you get a kick out of, if you type in Jerome Jackson Busted, you'll see me performing in Tampa, Florida, in front of about 4,000 people with a live band, and I busted the seat out of my jumpsuit. So,
did you really?
Yes. And I went down, did this little split that Elvis usually did on Suspicious Minds. I went down, pop. I felt something give, and the guy behind me in the band leader, oh Lord, he goes in, and he throws me a towel to tuck in the back of my belt to hang out. Of course, I wear an undergarment underneath the suit, so nothing. You couldn't see anything. I'm excited. I
got to come to your next show. I got to see all these outfits.
Yes,
you said he has like 5 different jumpsuits.
Well, I'll wear only one, but
no outfit changes. Why don't you do an outfit change? That would be even more, because he was very eccentric in his clothing and whatnot.
Oh yeah, even his casual clothing was eccentric as far as what you would think. It looked like stage wear, basically, but it was the jumpsuits on stage that he loved, and they were comfortable, and they're heavy. I have one that's extremely heavy because it's got, I don't know, the guy that made it for me told me it's got about 10,000 different stones on it, or different.
Swarovski, or just like.
No, it's just they're not
like costume.
Yeah, they're nothing really expensive about the stonework on them as far as jewels and things of that nature.
All real diamonds.
Yeah, no, and I don't think Elvis has even had stuff, because his was made with the same things that they're making the tribute artist jumpsuits now.
Really?
They have the patterns. They have the layout of the design. If it's an eagle suit or if it's the sundial, which the last suit that he wore was an embroidered gold sundial on the front and back, and the work down the legs. That's the only one. It's not the only one. It's one that I wish I had, but that's the most expensive. If you go through one dealer, it's like $5,000-$6,000 for that one.
Are they generally that over $1,000 for one?
Yeah, I've spent $3,000 on 3 of my jumpsuits.
Oh wait, on like
no, not 3, a piece.
Oh, so $9,000.
Yes. So over the years, I've bought and sold and rebought, and you can get them for as little as $1,500. The early '70s ones, which only had
more boring.
Didn't have anything on them, but just a little fringe or whatever. But as the mid '70s came along, they started getting more elaborate. Not just the stonework, but it was becoming more embroidery, and that's what is really expensive. But I did find somebody that has an awesome version of that's much cheaper. And
in the cards for 2025?
Well, I have to get it approved by Pam, my wife. She told me the other night when I was talking about it, she said, why don't you go ahead and get one? I'm thinking, are you, hello? Are you okay? And it's like...
What did she say? Did she mean it?
Apparently so, but I think, you just had knee surgery. You've got doctor bills. We don't really need to be doing this unless I get a few extra gigs a month, because that helps pay for a lot of that stuff, and that's just extra, Walmart money for us, Yeah, but you can't buy these at Walmart. But I mean, they're neat. You get great comments on them. I have a guy down in Florida that does the scarves for me. He does a great job, and they're not the 35 by 35s. They're actually 5 inches wide by about 52. And they're cheaper that way. If I had to get 35 by 35s and fold them,
that's a lot of fabric.
That it is. He made me a few of them. I said, "Can you make me?" He has an Elvis scarf, and he knew the size.
Everybody's
got one but me. I know. And so I said, "Can you make me about 5 of these in the size that Elvis had?" So he did, and I had to look up a video on how to fold them to make it come out with the dart on both ends. And it was kind of bulky, but I said, this is not the right fabric for that. So I've got to find a better fabric in order to do that. But it's cheaper just to have the narrow scarves. Yeah. People like those anyway. And
I would figure that's just weird to have her on your neck, too.
I know. Well, and it didn't look on Elvis, whatever they were using. Might have been silk something combination. It laid flatter, and then when he pulled it out, it just – until you got it and you started, oh, wow, 35, it's just a big scarf. So I looked up a YouTube video to find out how to fold it, and then I did a few of mine, and I gave one away at a show just to have the one. And the shows are a lot of fun. So, next if you can come to the February 15th show.
Is it? You said that they're at the Red Barn.
The Red Barn on Napier Field Road in Dothan. It's right about a mile and a half on the left. When you turn next to the on Napier Field off 231, it's just it'll seat about 200 people. And
that's a lot of people.
And we usually sell it out, and I know somebody that might be able to get you a ticket.
Really, you do? Awesome.
You are with the press, right?
I might be.
Okay.